Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I am joined here by Sam Schneider of Primetime Sports Talk. And coming off the big win, we need to hear the horn. We have to hear the horn. I never, ever, ever thought I'd be blowing that horn tonight.
I don't get tired of that sound.
Oh no. And this one's one of the sweetest victories we've had in a long time. Just beating the Steelers, being able to actually think that maybe the Browns could steal this division after an 11-0 start. There's a possibility the Steelers won't even win the division. That is I'm so pulling for the Browns to win out and grab the division. Just unbelievable. What are your thoughts before we get started on the good and the bad?
Yeah, I'm really excited at just how wrong you and I both were on the preview show. We tell everybody that, if you want homers, go somewhere else. We're not homers. We make our picks. We call it like we see it. And we both saw them getting just run out of their own building tonight. And instead, they played inspired. They looked tough. They played a mostly penalty-free game compared to the way they usually have.
Right.
So it was just, I usually take a lot of notes during the game, and this was one where I just sat there and enjoyed myself.
Yeah, no, it was insane. First of all, we weren't alone. I tweeted out earlier today, there were people that were talking about how early we were going to see Hogan in the game.
Right.
I mean, all of the fan base was bracing for the worst. And why wouldn't we? I mean, look at what we did last week against Dallas.
Yeah.
We played probably one of the softest defenses in the league in terms of giving up points, and we got completely run out of our own building last week.
Yeah.
So how could we feel any different going into this game? I talked to you before the game. I bet the two unders on Finley's completions and Finley's yards because I figured those were slam dunks, and I actually hit them, and we won the game, which is crazy. We're going to go through all this. We're going to spend a little. We're going to start with the bad because I like to finish with the good, but I don't have a lot of bad to talk about. But let's hit a couple of the points. When we opened up the game, we opened up with 5 straight runs, which I started thinking, oh great, we don't even trust Finley to throw the ball. And then we also opened with Sample supposedly being left alone to block Watt.
Yes.
And I thought to myself, here we go again. Great game plan. This is how we're starting out. But the Steelers did everything. I said in our preview last week, if we were going to win this game, we were going to need help. And the Steelers could not have been more helpful. But one of the negatives I want to talk about was William Jackson the third. Oh my gosh, he has a chance to intercept the ball in the third and basically stall a Steeler drive. He doesn't do it. And then on a 4th down, we have a chance to get off the field and he commits pass interference.
He's a chump. He's a chump.
So, that was one of my bads. And the other bad I have was the referees. They did not, they held on to their flags and they let us play, and there's something to be said for that. But we had a blatant roughing the passer on a that if that was anybody else, if we had done that to Ben, there would have been guys ejected.
Yeah,
we did that to Finley, and it was like, oh yeah, whatever. I mean, 3 guys, and it was the forearm to the head that just. I'm sure that there'll be a FedEx envelope on that guy's locker later this week from the league, but still, there was tons of holding on Lawson and Hubbard the entire game, and I don't think there was one holding call against the Steeler offensive line.
Yeah, they also I can't remember exactly when it was, but they whiffed on just the most obvious block in the back I've ever seen that should have been called on the Steelers. Like I was like, oh well, that's good. We're going to get some yards out of that, and I'm waiting to see the little flag icon at the bottom of the screen, and I'm waiting, and I'm like, you've got to be kidding me. I mean, There's a guy standing right there. Right. And you mentioned the hit to the head on Finley that should have been called, and then on the very next play, they blew a neutral zone infraction dead instead of letting Finley get a free play and chuck it down the field.
Yeah, and they said, well, you think, and even Louis Riddick said, do you think that they would have done that to Aaron Rodgers?
Right. No, absolutely not.
Yeah,
absolutely
Aaron Rodgers would have gotten his free play, but we didn't. So absolutely. So despite the refs, we still pull out the victory. So I
Right.
have to give kudos to our guys, because typically they'll kind of, the calls don't go your way and they start hanging their heads. But no, they didn't do that tonight. So that's all I have on the bad. That's it.
Yeah, I didn't have a lot of bad either. There were a couple, minor things that just kind of happened in the heat of the battle. Mackenzie Alexander, when he got called for taunting, I wasn't really happy with that, because we were doing a really good job of keeping our composure,
right,
for the most part during the game. But at the same time, Mackenzie Alexander was arguably our best player on the field tonight. So I'm not going to knock him too hard, because he came back on the very next play and blew somebody up. And he ended the game. He had 6 tackles, 2 passes defensed, got an interception.
He was our leading tackler.
Yeah. So, I mean, what are you going to say about that? You know what I mean?
I thought when he was high stepping after the interception and we had the whole little mini melee on the sidelines, I thought for sure we were going to get the flag against us. It's just
I did too.
How we're programmed. We said, oh, they're going to say he initiated it with the high stepping, at midfield as he's going out of bounds.
Right.
They actually called it properly, because you're allowed to high step. Okay.
Yeah, you can do. I mean, because you can make the case that I was doing that on purpose because I thought I was going to get tackled from behind.
Right.
We know it's bull, but you can say that, so they can't flag you for that.
Yeah. So, but they actually called it properly. But despite all that, we still won the game, and it's nice to kind of win despite the referees not being on your side and not giving you the calls. So
right. I wanted to mention real quick, just because we were talking about that play in particular, and this is a good thing, not a bad thing.
Right. We're going to the good. We'll start with the good.
When he got hit on that out of bounds, because the guy was obviously not happy that he was high stepping.
Right.
I have never seen Quentin Spain and Xavier Suafilo move so quickly. They jumped off the bench and came running over to his defense, and that's the kind of stuff you like to see. It seems like most of the guys, are a pretty close-knit group, and they were all, in battle together tonight. And to see those 2 guys who were gassed probably and sitting on the bench just jump up like, oh, no, this is not happening. I really liked seeing that.
Yeah, and I don't know, do you think Mackenzie Alexander does that if he's heading into the Steelers sideline?
Oh, absolutely not.
He sees all the orange jerseys, which I'm wearing my orange. I'm wearing a Chad Johnson, by the way, because I just thought my Chad orange was the way to go. That's how I felt when I pick jerseys tonight. But yeah, I think he saw the orange and he knew, because I don't know you do that going in if you see all the gold. So
you might not come back out.
Yeah, then we'd have to send in a search and rescue team for you.
Right, exactly.
But all right, well, let's go.
Suddenly Joey Porter shows up out of nowhere and mugs you.
Don't even get me started on Joey Porter. All right, well, let's jump right into the good. The biggest surprise for me was that we won this game in the trenches. Our defensive line completely dominated their offensive line, and they had Pouncey back. DeCastro was there. Villanova was there. They had a lot of their guys. I mean, they're out one lineman, but still, I was shocked at just how we dominated the line. Our offensive line dominated because we did get the push that we needed at times to get on the running, but the defensive line manhandled the Steelers line, and that surprised me. I did not expect that type of dominance.
And the official stat line for Carl Lawson today was a sack, a tackle for a loss, and two solo tackles. One of those is the tackle for loss. But he was back there in Ben Roethlisberger's pocket every time. I mean, just getting a hand on him every time. I'm here again. I'm here again. I'm here again. And it takes a lot to rattle Roethlisberger, but we got him down a couple times, which is rare. Even if it was just he had just released the ball and we put a hit on him. Right. But I think there were a couple times in this game where he was a little rattled, and it was specifically Lawson that was doing most of the rattling.
Hubbard. There were plays where Lawson and Hubbard met at Roethlisberger, and it was one or the other. Who do you want to stop? So one of them would come in. A lot of the overthrows that Ben threw tonight was because he had to get rid of the ball. He could not.
He wanted just another half second. He wanted another half second. Right. And we didn't give it to him.
No.
And the other one is kind of to go on with that, with that defensive line talk. When we put a lot more pressure on by bringing other guys up the middle and stacking the box, which we haven't done a lot this year. I'm wearing my Keith Rivers jersey because I had a feeling going into this game we need one more linebacker.
Right.
But Josh Bynes showed me that we didn't, because he played like a defensive lineman from the linebacker position. They kept bringing him up on the line, and he had some great stops right in the middle. And a fumble recovery.
And he had a big run stop on a 3rd and short.
Huge.
They tried to run the motion play, and he didn't bite on the motion.
No, he did not.
Right in, plugged the gap, made the hit on Snell, and it was huge. I had down here Pratt, Bynes, Lawson, and let's talk about Phillips. They specifically targeted Phillips in the first half because the first 4 or 5 passes were all at whoever Phillips was covering, and Phillips answered the call.
Yes, he
really did.
And he had that key breakup in the 4th.
Right.
When he timed it perfectly, dove across and slapped the ball out of bounds on what was actually a pretty good throw. Where you thought only the receiver could catch that ball. But Phillips played outstanding. 4 tackles, one of them for a loss, led the team in passes defensed with 3 because they were throwing at him. But you don't get a pass defense unless you did a good job.
Right.
Either to knock the ball down, knock it away, just get your hand in there and keep the guy from catching it. He had an outstanding game, and he's one of the reasons. I hate William Jackson III, and we already talked about him. Yeah. But Darius Phillips is a guy that makes William Jackson III expendable, in my opinion.
I would have to agree with you on that. And tonight's game would do nothing but support that statement. So
especially financially, what I mean?
Oh yeah. We need to free up. We're going to have to be active in free agency again. And so we need to, guys like William Jackson III are probably going to not come back because we need the cap space.
Right. So, well, and you got, one of the guys, when we're active in free agency, one of the guys we're going to have to look at is Mackenzie Alexander, because he only signed a 1-year deal. Right. So we got to, because he was betting on himself to have a good season. Well, I think we're paying him like $4 million this year or something like that.
What a steal! That's a bargain.
So he was betting on himself, and he's doing it right. And I got no problem paying that man. Not necessarily what William Jackson would need, but paying him what he deserves to keep him on this team.
Just keep the contract down to 2 or 3 years. Don't give him too much because he's not a youngster. So before we forget, let's talk about that hit on Juju. I think Twitter went nuts because a couple people, when I tweeted earlier today, said, well, at least all I want to see is Juju Schuster get his bell rung. And I tweeted back, wish granted.
After he was dancing on the logo and spiking the ball and during the pregame. Yeah, one of my buddies on Twitter, Paulie, he right after that hit, he said, "I'm pretty sure all of Juju Smith-Schuster's ancestors felt that."
Yes,
because he just got clobbered, absolutely clobbered.
Yeah, well, that was part of like I said, that was part of the gifts. We got those turnovers early on, and that's why when you look at Ryan Finley's stat line, I mean, he was what was it, 7 of 13 for 89 yards.
Right.
Okay. If you read that stat line, you think there's no way we won the game.
Right.
I mean, it's just, but we had such a short field. The Steelers did everything they could in the first half to help us out. What was different, and this is my biggest thing outside of being surprised at how we won in the trenches, was we didn't go into the prevent. We started to in the 3rd quarter, and it led to 10 straight points. And they figured it out. We went back to the defense that we were playing. And why haven't we been doing that all year? We talked about the prevent only prevents us from winning. They finally stepped up, and we closed out the game because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll tell you what, who would have thought, when you mentioned Finley's stat line, and he was a great game manager today, threw for 1 touchdown, did not turn the ball over. Who'd have thought, number one, that he'd only take 2 sacks?
Right.
I mean, that's crazy to me. Even if you told me we were going to win this game, I still would have guessed that Finley would go down probably 5 times back there. Right. But they couldn't get to him. And then we started putting in the RPO the RPO plays. And if I told you Ryan Finley, who is not exactly crazy legs out there, would have 10 rushes for 47 yards and a touchdown, and most of those being designed plays,
Yeah, they were
not scrambles.
They were designed.
You would have told me I was crazy if I told you that. You'd have been like, no, there's no way.
But
so that was great to see.
Once we had the Steelers in kind of a desperate mode, we used their aggression against them, and that was it. You get the ends charging in, and then Finley just rolls out and gets the 5 yards he needs. He picked up key first downs and that touchdown on designed rollouts that were designed runs. They were designed to be runs.
Yeah, that design play that led to the touchdown where he was, I don't think he was even touched.
Right.
Because they were so fooled by it. That was a thing of beauty. It was a beautiful play. It was a great play call at that moment, albeit a dangerous one. But he didn't try to do too much. He just followed the route that he's supposed to go and just coasted right into the end zone.
So, well, I can't believe I'm going to say this, and I say it all the time, don't tell me, show me, but great game plan by the coaching staff. I mean, they came in and they executed it, and they kind of got back into their bad habits in the third quarter because we were once again grossly outscored 10-0 in the third quarter. But at least they said, okay, let's get back to what we're doing in the first half. And that's how we won the game. That's how we closed them out. So,
and you see what the result of that was when we went back to it, when we closed them out, it's because then we turned around in the fourth quarter and outscored them 10-7. When was the last time we outscored the Pittsburgh Steelers in the fourth quarter of any game? I couldn't even tell you.
Yeah, you'd have to go back to probably a Sam Weish and a Boomer Esiason.
Right. I mean, or maybe an Andy Dalton led team that was down 4 touchdowns and in garbage time, threw for 2 touchdowns in the fourth to come back. But in a meaningful game, outscoring Pittsburgh in the fourth, I can't remember the last time that happened.
Yeah, I can't either. And I think Bengal fans in the third quarter had to just feel 2017 all over again. I mean, we were up 17-0 at half then and lost 23-20. Yeah. So, I mean, this was kind of like, oh, here we go again, 17-10, they're coming down, and you just kind of were like, you got that feeling where,
Yeah, well, and if you didn't have that, and if you didn't have that feeling, Steve Levy made sure to remind you about 25 times from the broadcast booth over and over and over again.
Yeah, well, they're definitely, just like we don't get the calls, they even tried to not give us the Schuster fumble.
Yeah,
Dak doesn't challenge that play and send it to New York. We don't have that call. Oh,
right. And in the fourth quarter when Phillips had that beautiful tip away out of bounds, they went back and revisited it like 3 plays later to say it should have been pass interference. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty typical. The Bengals shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't have got that.
Right.
That's my Sam voice.
I can't tell you how many times I watched them holding Lawson as he was trying to get around the corner, and there's no flag. I mean, I was like, how much jersey do you have to hold on to actually get you to throw a holding penalty against the Steelers? And of course, it's as much jersey as you want because there was no holding calls at all against their offensive line. So for that one pass interference, let's talk about the 10 holding penalties that weren't called.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but all right. Well, fortunately, this game doesn't cost us anything in the draft position. We're still drafting third. I know on Twitter there's been a lot of talk that we're not going to get Penny now because the Jets will take Penny at 2. And listen, I don't think the Jets take Penny at 2, but if they took Penny at 2, we trade back because someone's going to trade up for Fields at 3, and we'll make hay there. So
and Fields shouldn't go third, but we were talking about this. He shouldn't even go in the top 5. But although I know there's a lot of Ohio State fans that are going to take issue with that, he's not that good, guys. He's not that good.
He's not a Dwayne Haskins, but it still doesn't matter. It as long as he's perceived that it only takes one team to fall in love with you and 2 teams to make somebody need to trade up, and we could be there. So
somebody just to need a quarterback badly enough to say, well, let's take that gamble or whatever. Well, I would love to see that happen. Maybe just trade back a couple spots, still get a good player. There are some good offensive linemen in this draft. Still get a good player in the first round, turn it into an extra pick or 2, maybe in the second or third. Well, maybe more than a pick or two, actually.
Pick or two,
Number 3 overall.
Well, and we'd be picking third in the second round again, and we pick up a 5th or 6th round pick in the second round, and maybe a pick next year and whatnot. We can really parlay it. So, guys, just relax. Let's see how the draft plays out. My only thing is we're not great draft manipulators of the draft board. So historically, we're the guys that get leapfrogged. You know, we got leapfrogged by Detroit, and they took Ragnow ahead of us, and we got Price. We got leapfrogged on Cedric Ellis. We got Rivers. You know, it was just one of those things. Even Zimmer leapfrogged us in the 2nd or 3rd round when we were going to get Elfine. And
the Steelers leapfrogged us when they took Devin Bush, the linebacker.
Right. So
it's one of the Bushes. There were 2 Bushes in that.
No, I think it is Devin Bush. So, but that's it. So, it doesn't cost us anything in the draft order, which is good. I know the Jet fans are very somber today. Because they kind of basically gave away Trevor Lawrence. So I know we talked about this. That's hard to root against your team or for the team to not want to win, but still he's going to be a Jaguar now. I can't see Jaguars even risking that. So we'll see what happens, but we'll set at 3. This was a sweet win, and Browns start making donations to Bengal players charities right now, because they just gave you a chance to win the division, and nothing would make me happier than the Steelers to go 11-0 to start the year and not win the North. Nothing would make me happier than that. So I would love to see the Browns win out, take the division. That would be awesome. So,
hey, Mark, I wanted to mention one more thing. Sure. What have I been screaming about for every preview?
Running the ball.
Run the ball. And they gave Gio the ball 25 times today.
We ran it 41 times.
Look at that. And what happened? And I think I even said on the preview that, the Steelers are like 3rd in the league in rushing yards against, but it's because, for 11 games, they had such a huge lead. Everybody had to throw. They can be run on, and we showed that tonight. So I'm glad that the coaching staff recognized that and just started putting, the ball in Gio's belly, gave him the ball 25 times, and look what happened. What do you know?
And what have I been yelling about prevent?
Right.
We didn't play prevent in the 4th quarter. We actually we didn't just play the 4th quarter. We put the pedal down. We started saying, we've got to get the first down. Let's try to, even towards the end, Zach was trying to keep the ball, draw him off sides, and we ended up taking the field goal. But even then, we had the pedal down the whole time. It was, finally. So, great win. Let's enjoy it. Christmas came a little earlier.
I've got the celebration ale, which seemed all too
pomegranate juice I'm drinking.
It seemed all too fitting after a win to have the celebration ale.
Well, I will. I might spike my pomegranate when we're we get off the thing. It is a good mix with vodka, So, But all right, well, we were going to put up a show probably earlier. I'm thinking Wednesday night because of Christmas Eve, so we'll probably put up a show Wednesday night previewing, this week's game. And remind everybody where they can find your stuff, Sam.
Sure. You can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You. I write for Primetime Sports Talk. You can find us at Talk Primetime or at primetimesportstalk.com.
Awesome. Well, you'll wake up at Cincinnati tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of talk. We haven't met the Steelers in a long time, and certainly not in a meaningful game where this really hurts them.
Yeah.
Three losses in a row after an 11-0 start. I can't. This is one like the Rams yesterday. I think they just thought they could just show up and win this game.
Yeah.
Even after the Ram wake-up call yesterday, they still kind of Schuster was still doing his stuff, and no, this is definitely a sweet win. So,
yeah, and they thought we thought this was going to be a get right game, and it was a get wronger game for the Steelers.
Well, like I said, looking at where we were coming in and all that, you can understand it. But
of course,
we'll take it. No, yeah. It was a fun game to watch. So
enjoy it, everybody.
So enjoy it. Yeah, savor this one. Everybody have a happy and healthy, safe rest of your week. We will put a preview up on Wednesday night. I'll say hoo day, everybody.
Hoo day.
All right. Take care.